Hi, my name is Jason Slawson. I am the co-writer and director of the upcoming film Potential. This is Michael Scheffler. He is the other co-writer of the film Potential. This is Kerry Cahill. She'll be playing the role of JIMI. This is Katherine McClain, who will be playing the role of Valerie. Mike and I originally wrote the film back in what?
2008, I think.
2008, 2007, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there.
And we didn't finish it until
last year.
Last year. No, I think we wrote the final copy in 2000 and.
I think it was 15.
15?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you helped us put together a read-through with local actors.
Table read. Yeah.
Table read. Yeah.
In some date and year that exists. I have a very bad concept of time. 2, 3? 3 years
It
ago.
was 2016.
Yeah,
Yes.
probably 2015, 2016.
That was last year, though.
It was 2015.
Yeah, it must have been
It
15.
was 2015.
Okay.
It was like June
Yes.
or
We're doing a great job.
so good.
It was the year of the beaver. That's not even true because I know that's not the year of the beaver actually. But it was not the year of the beaver. It's the year of the moon of the dart dragon.
The Dart Dragon?
I don't know. That's a
So what was it
Okay.
that you liked most upon your first reading? Because you didn't originally read for the role of JIMI.
no.
JIMI was originally supposed to be a male character. And then you...
I read stage directions actually.
Oh, that's right.
Because I read them really well at table reads, which is a weird talent, but it is actually a talent someone can have, and I have it.
She does.
Because
She does an amazing
I
job.
cold read very quickly, so I can skip the descriptive and be like,
Push
and then
where
we
need
see
to
him
be.
driving. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Mike and I went back with all our notes and tried to, and did basically our final rewrite on it, if you will. And one of the notes we noticed was that we should think about turning JIMI from a male character into a female character. And
Specifically with platinum blonde hair and a bad spray tan, which will happen, but I'm not walking around like that all day.
Wasn't that your suggestion to make JIMI a woman?
I was like, well, here's what actually happened. What I actually said was, this is a great movie and it's really funny. I said, there's not a role for me in it, but if there were, it would be JIMI.
right, that's right.
Because I was like, I wasn't any of the other characters, but I
Right.
would be a JIMI. I could be a JIMI.
And you put that in the notes, and so we went back and we rewrote the character. Actually, what we decided, I think, is we weren't going to rewrite the character at all, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I said, don't change a word if you're going to do it, because there's no need. Yeah.
We took this hard charging, heavy drinking, super partying.
Because I'm really not like that.
We just changed he to she and just changed the spelling of the name. That was all.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to kill. I think you're going to be
I am very
hilarious.
excited to play her. I love women like her, and I've worked for women like her, and it has always been a good time.
See? That's awesome.
I mean, you can't stay there forever. You have to go on, but yeah.
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 Yeah. And Shauna Rappold couldn't join us tonight, but she's going to play the character of Lauren. And her and you as Valerie are really the only two that remain from the original table read. Every other role pretty much has been recast. But,
Well, the lead up to the table read, you both decided to actually knock it out and really finish the script. I mean, you'd finished a draft and you were like, let's do it. We're gonna really make the script work.
Well, it's a great, writers need deadlines. Like when I write, I'm like, I just pick a day that I invite all my friends over to read something, and I have not written anything, but I'll be like, well, now I have to.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna be here Thursday.
I'm the same way, yeah.
And I remember we did the reading, and the two characters of Valerie and Lauren were actually written by Mike. And I remember him saying that both of those reads with Shauna and Katherine, he both thought were really well done, and pretty much just fought for them to not be changed. Like, we've got them, they're good, they're actresses, we've got what we need. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I asked this earlier, but how long did it take you to finish it total? Like if we count like the day you guys started putting, we don't say pen to paper anymore. The day you started putting keyboard to
You actually
data.
did pen to paper?
Our original go-through, so Mike, I think it was 2006 or 2007.
Pretty sure it was 2007. Is when we
You were living by yourself in the one-bedroom apartment. I came over and would hang out with you all the time. And we had all these ideas, but we hadn't written anything. And Mike said, well, why don't we write a story about to writers who can't get their stuff together, like who were in there at the time,
Sounds familiar.
mid-late
Yeah.
20s, right,
And then
right.
9 years later, we actually finished it.
You got your stuff
Yeah,
together.
see,
Our
exactly.
first draft of this, by the way, I believe was 160 pages.
It was something like that. It was
was
really,
ridiculous.
That's terrible.
and it was the
And
other
for
thing.
those that don't know,
yeah.
a page in a script is a
Like a
minute
minute.
on
about
screen.
a minute
Yeah.
on screen, right? And that doesn't include like action-y scenes or dream sequences or anything that like is written in short spurts but actually takes up hours of screen time or minutes of screen time. So we were looking at
Basically,
like
that was too long.
we were looking at like a 3-hour comedy.
Yeah. You know, do it like old style in the 70s where they would have like a 15-minute intermission, like the Grindhouse thing. They go out, get a bunch of
Right,
beer,
exactly.
come back, watch
Exactly.
more.
There you go.
Yeah,
See, we can do
that's
the
how you
whole
could have
thing
done it.
only in theaters that serve
Yeah.
alcohol.
There you go.
Right.
But
It's like
usually
a
at that
stand-up
point, there's
show.
a musical number or something.
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a big,
Is
like,
there a musical number?
There's not a musical number, I don't think.
Don't tempt me. I will rewrite the scene again. I will.
yet? We don't know.
It's true.
So
But
Maybe
it
he does
took-
karaoke.
From start to finish, it took how long?
I
It's been
guess
9 years.
about 9 years, 8-9 years, and the first draft was bad, and we were
It was so bad.
we were so proud of it. we sent it to a couple of people, and everybody half read it and like wrote us back. It was like, so it's really long, and there's a lot of funny things, but you're missing this pivotal thing called plot. It's supposed to help the characters get from
Yeah.
point A to point B,
Well,
right?
we were also trying to write the characters like the way we talk. Because I remember one of our big jokes is so when Jason and I talk in real life, of course, we're being very relaxed. It's not like we're doing right now in the interview, but it's like, dude, man, bro, dude. And that's what it was. And when you summed all of it down to like each page is like, dude, man, bro, man, dude, man, bro. And it's like, we need to get rid of this.
I think we actually went in, and because you can go in and remove specific things, we typed in dude, we typed in man, we typed in bro, we took them out, and we lost like 30 pages. Like, I don't think it was quite that. No,
awesome.
we went from 162 to 148. So we lost
Wow.
almost 10 pages just on dude, man, bro.
As someone who never spent much time on the East Coast, I have
Yeah.
been in my adult life, but not even that really. Is that a thing that like kids in your like
Yeah,
like in the
Of
20s
our-
of Maryland, like people are like, dude,
the 80s and the 90s.
It was just
yeah.
our group of friends.
Well,
too,
it's
I
like,
Yeah, you
think.
did. But it was a thing. I guess it would be like everybody in their 20s at that time. I didn't. No, I never did that. Nope. You guys did that. That's
We
the
did
key.
that.
You did that.
Yeah, no, our
Yeah.
group did dude, man, bro. Son was the other one, but we didn't put that one in. Because the other thing is when you're trying to write, I think that you're trying to put out the truth, right? Because the old adage, write what you know. And so that was our original desire, was to put out the truth. But the truth is that most of life isn't exciting enough to put on a movie screen. So when you try to write it, you get 160 pages of just like brushing your teeth.
Mike's driving around looking for a gas station.
You're right.
Oh, there's a
that's the
line at
thing.
that one.
You have
I'll
to
go to
real-
the next one.
And you've got to extend things out, and you've got to embellish a little bit, because you got to remember, like especially back when we were in college, the most exciting thing that happened to us on a weekly basis is going to this place called Cluck U and seeing the guy that worked there that looked just like Tupac.
Yeah.
That was the most exciting part of our week. It really
Yeah,
was.
right,
And-
which doesn't transfer well to screen unless
Yeah.
you actually get somebody that looks just like Tupac, and I'm pretty sure he was in the last Tupac movie and cost money. So
We're not gonna use. That's not gonna happen. Yeah.
we can get a cardboard cutout.
I had a friend
true.
of mine that once said he was like the hour and a half of film or 2 hours of a play or whatever. It's the most important time of that person's life. So you pull out all the important parts
Yep.
and you leave all the like toothbrushing and
Right.
and sitting on the couch watching 5 episodes of Stranger Things, and you just leave all of that because it's
Right.
not interesting.
Oh, it's one of the when we went back. So we did the 160 page, and then we got rid of the dude, man, bro, and lost almost 10 pages, and then, which I'm not even kidding, it was about 10 pages of script.
Dude,
and
man,
then
bro, that's like a lot, bro.
it's a lot,
Dude,
dude.
man.
I think we
Right.
counted close to 1,100 just dudes. It was really bad.
It's so bad. So then we went back and rewrote it again, and we knocked it down to about 120 pages, which still for comedy is a little long, but at least it was better.
2 hours, yeah.
And what had happened is I had gone to some film school. And so what I learned, because all my training, my basic training, my camera knowledge, my understanding, my visual literacy started in the military as a photographer and a broadcast journalist. And so for me, I understood the technical behind the scenes side of it really well. But from a writing standpoint, the military doesn't teach you art. They don't care how creative it is. They just want it done. Is it effective?
Yeah.
Is it efficient? Right.
So then you went to film school.
Then we went to film school. I went to film school, and I had an instructor who very early on said, "Why today?" That was his adage for when you're writing anything: is why today? Why is today the day that we see this person? What change?
Yeah.
What changes happened? And we took that information and went back and started rewriting it. And I think one of the inspiring things for me was you took the Lauren character who originally was based on someone you knew.
Two other people.
Two other people, right. And you said, okay, I'm gonna take the big emotional moments from this character and put that context in and remove a lot of the, again, teeth brushing and binge watching and day-to-day stuff, driving around looking for the, this gas station, right?
I had an improv teacher once that was like, it was different because it's improv and we're live,
Right.
but it was today is the day. So it's like,
Right.
to make it the most interesting scene possible, it's like, today is the day you're going to say the thing to that person, do it now. Like, today is the
Carpe
day.
diem.
Carpe
Yeah.
diem, right,
And then
exactly.
then you're interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, what was it when you read Potential? Because I think I'd given you one or two scripts to read. And Potential was the one that you said, this
Oh, you
one.
should do a table read.
Yeah, we should table read it. What was
I think
it?
I said it like that. You should do a table read.
What
in
was
my
it?
pajamas.
Probably. With a cup of coffee. What was it that caught your eye that made you want to do?
I think for me, this is interesting. I think I actually have told college students when I do discussions about this that I think the early 20s and late 20s to some extent can be some of the hardest parts of people's lives, because it's like you're in school till you're 18, you know exactly where you're supposed to be most of the time, or even if you've chosen not to be there, and then you probably do college. If you don't, you do maybe a trade school or an associate degree or something, or you go to work or you
Military.
this. And then, military. And then at some point you're kicked more into sort of the world, where they're like, okay, get married, have kids, buy a house, do this. You're supposed to do stuff, What are you doing? How are you? Did you get married yet? Did you do this? Did you do that? And so your whole 20s are filled with this like, I'm supposed to be amazing. And then when you're not, and you're 29, somewhat like your characters,
Exactly.
you're sort of hit with this like extreme depression of like, well, I just failed at everything, I'll just stop now. And I think, which is dark and
right.
Well, the fact that you
it makes
mentioned that
great
too,
comedy.
when I approached
Yeah.
Jason about this originally, like the whole idea, first of all, there was two things. When I told Jason, okay, we need to make a movie about this.
Right.
The first one was some of the Navy stories that he used to tell, especially the funny ones, are hilarious. And I was thinking, okay, that. And I remember we were having a discussion like, man, we didn't think we'd be here right now. And I'd actually seen, this goes along exactly with what you're saying. When I worked for the school, you know those motivational posters that you have? I saw they have demotivational ones too, and we had all those hanging up in our staff room. And one of them was exactly. And one of them, it was just a package of French fries, and on the bottom it said potential, because not everyone grows up to be an astronaut. And then we see that, and Jason and I got to talking about that. Like, we should do a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Potential. Yeah, because it
But
is.
you're exactly right.
And
though.
there's an American pressure too, where everybody, like, you're supposed to have a dream, it's supposed to be big, and it's supposed to be amazing, and you're supposed to achieve it. And if at the age of 30 you are not Elon Musk, well, then you need to go and watch The Secret again.
Right.
And I think
my God.
not that I don't actually watch some of that,
Right,
because I
but-
do, but like, and I think
lot of
there's something
pressure.
about, particularly for these two characters, like, we watch a lot of movies where men go back in time and go do really crazy, ridiculous things and then go back to their real life.
Right.
And this is a story of guys doing really crazy, ridiculous things and going, oh, wait a minute, we have to grow up too.
Right.
And I
There's
find
supposed to
that
be a real
interesting.
life in
yeah,
there. Yeah.
There's supposed to be a house to go back to after we've done this ridiculous
Right.
thing.
And one of the things that I actually really liked in writing it, there was a lot of catharsis in writing this script actually, and one of the things for me was as a veteran, I had this feeling of you get out of the military, and I got out when I was in my 23, 24, something like that, and because I didn't go through college, there's a lot of stuff that not that you learn this necessarily in college, but bills and credit was a huge thing, and all this stuff that nobody ever explained to me, and so I joined when I was 17 and I got out, and it was kind of like the feeling that I had was that I was already supposed to know all this stuff. And everybody else who had been through college and dealt with it knew about it. And so how come I didn't know about it? I'm the same age and I was in the military. And it goes back to that whole like, thank you for your service. And I couldn't have done that sort of thing. And I'm
you're like, what's a mortgage?
Right. Like,
not that there aren't veterans who have great
right.
stuff, but just
it's there's a lot of stuff. And I think that
How do I apply for a car loan?
Right, that's one of the things that they don't talk to you about. And you walk into it, everybody just assumes that you know what they know. And so therefore, when it comes time to do it and you don't know, it's almost terrifying to the point where you kind of don't want to do it. Yeah. And then that leads down a whole nother path of problems.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you were in the Navy, so you had a ride. You were in a boat.
Right.
You didn't need a car.
Didn't need a car, didn't need it. Exactly.
You were just like, what?
So.
Oh, that's funny.
And
I remember having some epiphany, and I think it was in my late 20s, where I finally realized nobody knew it, and everybody pretended they knew things because they felt like they were supposed to.
Right.
But everybody who was 29 also did not know what a mortgage APR, what a fucking thing was.
Nobody knows what any of that stuff is.
But no one wanted to come out and be like, what is that?
Just
What's
explain it to me.
What's the rate thing you're talking about?
I have
nobody
owned
knows.
a house. I still do not know what escrow is.
I kind of do.
It's
Actually,
cool. It's
I
a
do.
cool sounding word.
But I took time. I had to take now I do, and I'm 35.
Right.
But I do because I looked it up once because I think I watched a Tony Robbins financial speech. And I was like, I need to know these things.
Right, exactly.
And I don't know. It doesn't affect me much, but yeah.
So this script is set very particularly in Maryland, correct?
Correct.
What are some of the Maryland things that are creeping up that other people like Louisianians may not understand? And what can everybody relate to?
I had read it again recently, and I was driving around, and I realized a lot of what the characters do and where they go and how they traverse back and forth between places is something that you get growing up in a more suburban area, which is where we grew up, in the western side of Maryland, the unspoken side of Maryland, the 270 corridor that we grew up on is mostly suburban areas. So,
and they're really. I didn't grow up in suburban areas, so I kind of find them, and I've never lived in one.
Right.
So I went from literally towns of 900 people, some 200. One town I lived in for 4 years never even had a mayor. That's people small towns. I'm like, no, tiny villages of people living together with a store and a gas station. The store didn't even sell that much. But anyway, so suburban area is fascinating because I've either lived in a city or in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And there's sort of these weird areas where they're just strip malls of all the chain stores they have in other places.
Yep.
They're sort of places I just don't understand, and yet they all have these really big development houses and 2-inch grass. And I think most people now are coming from suburban areas. That is the more common area to live.
Yeah, and I think there's certain things that I didn't even realize, we have them partying in the front lawn.
Which we used to do all the time.
Which we used to do all the time because, again, we lived in a apartment complex where it was just grass in the front and grass in the back, but it was postage stamp size. And so if you lived in an apartment in the front, you had a little postage stamp out in front that was your lawn. So if you're going to grill in the front of your apartment. In the postage stamp.
Your neighbor's going to get really mad if you don't invite them.
Right, exactly.
Don't know that from experience at all.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we'll start with you, Katherine. After you read for Valerie at the read, and then we asked you again later if you wanted the role, what was it that you liked about the character? What was it that stuck with you?
Valerie, it's like she has wanted to be this fantastic person, and she's gotten to this point where she's just given up. She is chain smoking in the parking lot, the teacher's parking lot of the elementary school where she works. Pissed off at this person because she's a real human being who's actually interested in another real human being. And he is not interested in her because she's a real human being. He's more interested in the dream. So Valerie can be more upset about that. So she's interested in Cooper. She can have the feelings of being interested, but also being able to get angry about it and real about it and cut him off when she needs to. It
gives her more of the control in that sense.
It does. She's honest about things. She's honest about, to an extent, she's honest.
Right.
Also, she just doesn't tell the truth sometimes. But
right.
But most of us don't.
Yeah.
We're all flawed.
Well, she's not telling the truth to herself either. But what I do find interesting about this script is that the women in it tend to know themselves a lot better than the men.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
Valerie is an example of that. Lauren is another example. She knows who she is and what she wants, and
And is confident, and I think
Yeah.
also the women in the movie don't feel like they have to apologize for anything at any time.
Yes.
And they don't either. So it's kind of, well,
Yeah, they
maybe I do.
No.
Jimmy might.
Well, Jimmy's
Jimmy might
got
have a court order that she might have to.
There might be a moment in time.
Jimmy's a lot more hardcore about it than a lot of the others. But yeah, none of the love interests or any of the other females really have any of that apology moment or anything else. It's always I think you're absolutely right. But I actually co-wrote it, and I don't think about that sometimes. But I think you're right. I think interesting that a lot of the women, even the mother characters, tend to know exactly who they are and what they're going for. There is not.
Valerie may have had a dream at one point, but this is where she is, and she's pissed off about it, that she's not where she wants to be, but she's realistic about it too. She knows what it is, and she's not chasing a phantom of a dream. There's a difference. There's a difference with Andrew and Cooper, who keep talking about all that they want to do and then don't actually take any steps towards doing it.
Right.
And my vision of Valerie is that she probably took some steps and they didn't work out the way she wanted to. So she's now doing what she has to do. Yeah. And
Figuring it out. Yeah. What about the Jimmy character? So now.
So there's.
I know we talked about it and you said that you like it, but then you had to go back and actually read it again as that character and think about it.
And so what I like about her is that, so you're in a suburban area. You're in the suburbia world. And I think what I always find fascinating about suburban areas is that, they look so cookie cutter and quiet, and what you end up with in suburban areas to some extent is these incredibly, because I always find it fascinating that New Orleans actually has quite a lot of normal, average people. But people wouldn't think that because it's such an interesting town.
Right.
And it is, but in suburbia, I think what you also get is women like Jimmy, who probably had a dream, but now she's a restaurant manager at a chain restaurant. She probably makes less than the bartender because restaurant managers don't get paid as well as people think they do. She is tired, but she's not bitter. So she's decided that instead of being just, angry about it, she's gonna just party her way through life and do that old quote where she's gonna die sliding in with champagne and chocolate strawberries. And I think there's a way that people go if they're stuck in a place and they're stuck in sort of a system that they know they're not gonna escape.
Right.
So they're just like, ah! So she just, puts whipped cream on really hot men's chests, maybe. And
In her office.
and
During the middle of the day.
Possibly when oh gosh, who was it? Why can't I remember his name? Gordon Ramsay came out and said there might be a cocaine problem in the restaurant industry.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yeah, water's wet as well. Right. Because everyone in the restaurant industry already knows this.
Exactly,
Well, Jimmy knows that. Right. And Jimmy is really fine with it because she didn't think it's a problem. She's just making it through life and she's going to enjoy herself. She's just going to find a way. And I think that's the thing, is that in a world of sort of bland and vanilla and sort of melted cheese that's not very tasty, she's gonna find spice somewhere, and get hers. And to some extent, I'm okay with her doing that. Just every once in a while, I'm like, I don't know if I'd work for her that long.
I think it's I like that you said, okay, well, she says, this is my life. If this is what my life is, then I'm just going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of Valerie as well. That's true of, it's kind of what I mean with the women knowing themselves a lot better than the men. They're saying, okay, if this is what it is, then this is what I'm going to do about it. And Andrew and Cooper don't. They're just, it's like they didn't even try. But this film is about them making the decision to actually try instead of just deciding to be bitter about it.
And especially with everything that's going on in the industry in Hollywood right now, and there's a lot of discussion about not just women as actresses, but the roles that are available for them. Mm-hmm. Is it nice to find meatier roles, things that you think you can actually...
What are you talking about?
Well, what's fun,
leading question.
What's fun too, though, is that to find roles that allow women to be really truly three-dimensional, because I think what happens too is and I've watched a lot of other actresses talk about this, is that if they're the lead female on a sitcom show, there's a lot of pressure on them to represent all women.
Right.
And we can't do that because there's no one woman can represent any of all women.
Right.
It's just not a thing. And what I see happening in your film as part of that movement is the ability to have 3 different women who are completely different and have different flaws and different problems and are not perfect at all.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the glory too, is going and being able to find a role that not only is meaty, but is also not the nurse. I've played a lot of nurses. Not helping someone.
Right.
Not being very affectionate, or not being a typical sort of female role of supporting some thing, but just being this sort of raunchy, raw, that's my sound for her right now, character. And that's what's exciting, is like being able to play different, because we are all of those things, like all women are. Like we all have moments of, you know, craziness and and patience and this, and that's what's fun.
Human beings as opposed to just the catalyst for the male characters' epiphanies.
Right.
Yeah. One of my favorite moments in the script is Lauren the unicorn speech. It's such a perfect speech about what women are forced to do.
And it's the idea that it's like, your expectation of me is not my problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key, is that like,
You're the one.
your perception and your expectation of what I should or shouldn't be doing, or should or shouldn't give you, is just not my problem.
Yeah.
I sound like Jimmy right now.
Well, I mean,
But I'm like, well, then maybe you shouldn't work there. You can leave.
Red Bull.
Yeah.
That's your perception of me, and that's not the truth. And I mean, I'm sorry you feel that way, but this is who I am. And
because beautiful women often in film I see get put on pedestals too, where like they don't fart, and they do. And that's a weird thing to say, but they do. Like films put sort of like women on the like particularly beautiful. It's like this pedestal thing where it's like.
And that's interesting too in the concept of comedy, because if the beautiful woman does fart, it's to prove that she is not a perfect beautiful woman.
Right.
I think this film is doing a good job of subverting the male gaze a little bit, and showing how the male gaze is a little skewed already.
Because there is something too where like a lot of movies too still do this, where it's about the guy getting the girl and then it all clicks into place.
Right.
And I like that your movie like doesn't really focus on that. It's like, no, you getting your life and getting where you're going is the click. The person can come after that.
Right.
But the getting the girl or getting the guy is not the goal.
That's never right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I was saying before. It was very cathartic to write it, and I know that the Lauren scene was one of those. That scene, the unicorn speech, was something that was very personal. I remember when we rewrote it, you were like, "Hold on, I got this," because the first time we wrote it together, and then the second time you're like, "Hold on, I got this," and you sat at the computer for about 20 minutes. And when you walked away, most of that scene, it's one of the few scenes that, as we've rewritten it, it hasn't changed very much. Yeah. We've changed a couple of words here and there, maybe giving Lauren a little bit more bite in how she actually talks. But the scene itself wasn't. I mean, when you wrote it, what was going through your head? What were you thinking?
Basically, when I
remember that many years back.
I can actually. It's because I remember when we wrote it, like it was one particular girl that I based that speech off of. And because I remember, because I fell into the typical trap that guys fall into in their own head. It was, this girl doesn't want to be with me because I'm the nice guy or something like that. And then after I was like, no, that's not the case. This is a person. She's got her own needs. She's got her own wants. Maybe she just doesn't want to do whatever right now. And that was not only supposed to be a growing up moment for Cooper, but it was kind of, like you said, it was a catharsis thing. It was a growing up moment for me too, because as I've gotten older, I've realized that. It's like, no. If somebody doesn't want to go out with you, if they don't want to sleep with you, they don't want to whatever, it's because they don't want to. There's not a reason behind it. It's not because you're too nice. It's because they just don't want to. And it's like, they have their own reasoning for that. And guys tend to put these girls up on pedestals. And sometimes ladies do this as well. But it's like, but they tend to somehow twist it around that it's the girl's fault for not wanting them. And I'm like, no. So I had to write that in a way. It was a way of humanizing her, because and you've seen it yourself, so many people do that, and like, oh, what's her problem, man? She don't want to go out with me, et cetera and so forth. Well, maybe it's not a hard and fast reason. Maybe she just doesn't want to.
Right.
And
it's that thing of, how do I get out of the friend zone? I'm going to clear this up. There is no friend zone.
Right.
Correct.
It's not a thing. Doesn't exist.
And that's something you learn as you get older. And that was actually, hopefully.
When you quit watching those movies.
Exactly. But that's why I wrote that, because that's something that I had to learn in a painful way. And it was embarrassing. I embarrassed myself. I embarrassed the girl at the time. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to put this out on paper, and hopefully other people will read this and won't make the same mistake, or will help them grow up a little bit and stop acting like that.
And watch it on the screen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that starts again from it would have been really easy, I think, to write a scene where the Cooper character mansplains to Lauren, you know, what it actually is and what it's going to take and why you should feel this and why I'm not right for you, whatever. Like, and I love the fact that that's not what happened.
I love that moment.
Fumbled his way in, and she went, nope, game over.
Like, let me be straight with you.
Let me go ahead and just put this on the record.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah.